is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
And it's Off the Rails Friday, summer edition. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandale, Jen Rolnick, and our trusted producer, Sammy McKee. Any press conferences lately?
No.
Will they have a press conference when Brad Treliving books his flight to Arizona?
Probably. They'll have it set up outside the Whistle Rock Golf Course? Is that what it's called there? John Rahm course, like a big one. Anyways.
What does that look like when he gets there? Like, I was thinking about this. Like, they go to dinner, I guess. Like, you don't just hang out all day. Like, you go to dinner, and then he just goes, what do you want?
Did you watch on Prime Air? It's the story of
but I want to. Yeah.
Michael Jordan and Nike.
Yeah.
So
it's from
Nike,
Phil Knight's Shoe Dog, right?
Nike absolutely sucks. They're like not even on the map compared to Converse and Adidas. And then there's that Matt Damon character who has the biggest set of you-know-what to go right to the house of Michael Jordan where his mom and dad are.
Yeah.
And that it was like offside back then. You don't do that.
Right.
And you don't do it with an agent like David Falk. Was that the big agent?
Yeah.
You don't do that.
Okay.
And he did it anyways.
Yeah.
That's Brad Treliving.
Just showing up. Knock, knock, knock.
That Matt Damon's really brave. Quickly.
It's a great story, by the way. You have to watch it. Yes. It is phenomenal.
I know we don't cover a ton of junior hockey on this show.
Oh, boy.
And it's, the competitor took over the rights for the CHL and the Memorial Cup. But last night was a vintage Memorial Cup game between the Petes and the Kamloops Blazers. 4-1 comeback for the Peterborough Petes. I know we got a lot of people that'll be listening in the Peterborough area that'll be really fired up about that game. Massive hit by Chase Stillman, followed by an incredible fight. He's firing up the crowd. They come back from 4-1 down. And my beloved OHL still alive in the Memorial Cup. So really proud of the Petes. Go, Petes, go.
So
I had to get that in.
You saw the hit?
Oh, my God.
And what'd you think?
Loved it.
Suspension?
No, because they reviewed it. They did the kind of the thing where they reviewed the major. They made it a major so they could review it. They reviewed it, clean hit. He didn't get a penalty. The Petes end up on the power play.
So sorry, one more for you.
Yeah.
Stillman?
Yeah, first round pick of the New Jersey Devils.
Ooh.
He punched that fella right in this region
hard
2 times with his fist, I noticed.
It was quite a fight.
It was.
And junior hockey, they've really ironed out the fighting. Doesn't happen a whole lot. No 4-hour games like when I was a kid. But yeah, that was a big boy fight.
New Jersey fans must have gotten a lot more excited about their pick after that.
I would say.
I am surprised to hear you root for the Petes or the OHL, whatever. Like, I'm a Kelowna boy, raised there, and Kamloops would have been a team that the Rockets would have loathed.
Yeah, I root for the OHL always in the Memorial Cup unless it's the London Knights.
Are you the same way with the Leafs when they get knocked down the Canadian team?
It's a little bit like rooting for the Canadian team.
Heavy on Oilers?
It's a league. It's a league. I take pride in Ontario and OHL being the best junior hockey league in the world.
If Montreal went on to play the winner of the KHL, would you root for Montreal?
That's a great question.
Yeah, like I want to know is it consistent with the NHL?
Would.
No, I would not. I would. Maybe that'd be a tough one.
Why? Why is it a question mark? But you don't have the same philosophy for the O?
Well, the O is I've watched OHL hockey. I'm from Ontario. I take pride in this league. The best players come out of the Ontario
NHL area. And you take pride in blah blah blah.
Yeah, but it's not all Ontario.
Oh, come on. Magnitoscork is going up against some people you know. You're rooting for the people you know.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They're the bad guys at that point.
All right, we got a double dose of Off the Rails Friday. Colby Armstrong is going to join us momentarily, former NHLer, co-host of Chicklets Game Notes, and he's in Pittsburgh. Works covering games for the Penguins. Want to get his thoughts on Kyle Dubas coming in.
Yeah. I missed yesterday that he said he was going to hire a progressive GM.
Yes. Which fits in the framework of the Fenway Group.
Yeah.
But also kind of limits his broad range of potential general managers.
Sure does. It's
right up there with has to speak French.
Well, and is Brandon Pridham progressive? Like, he's a generic white guy who's been in NHL front offices for 20 years. Who's progressive then?
All right,
Tall
let's
skis, he
welcome
likes
in
numbers.
Colby Armstrong, former NHLer, and included the Pittsburgh Penguins, where they just named Kyle Dubas president of hockey ops. Colbs, what's going on, big guy?
What's up, boys? So I've started this new thing. I'm playing tennis here the last few weeks. Not a big country club guy, but I'm trying to get exercise in. So I've got a little crew of guys together. I'm starting to get okay at tennis, but it gets me running around, gets me moving. And you know how hot it is out right now. It's hot here as well. So I was cooking out there. I just finished up a little while ago. So. Yeah, things are going okay, boys.
Are you closer to that age where it's pickleball and not
That's
tennis?
a lot of stops and starts in tennis, Colby.
Boys, I got to tell you this. There's I go down to this park here. It's called North Park. It's there's courts all over the place. So in the morning when I go, there's like a massive pickleball club. I tried to weasel in on one of the courts one day, and I'm telling you, it's like its own world of hierarchy and what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. These pickleball people are crazy. They're crazy. So I stick to tennis. It gets me moving a lot more. I suck, so I got to run all over the place, which has been good.
All right. So is his line clean here, Sammy, or should we try to get him again? What do you think?
Am I brutal?
He's hanging on.
Okay, he's hanging on. All right, Colbs, let's get right into it, man. Kyle Dubas, what do you think?
Well, I just think, did anyone see that coming? I guess my thoughts are both people got what they wanted, really, right? I think Dubas wanted more control and autonomy of decisions and what's going to happen. And I think it's been rumored a long time. I think, Jeff Merrick and Elliott had it a long time that there was a connection between Fenway and Dubas. So I think both people got what they wanted in regards to, what they're going to do here. I do think on the presidency side for him, I think more forward thinking. So personally, living here too, I think the Penguins are like a hidden gem, marquee, legit team to come to, I think, for players. I think they love their sports here. It's not a big center, but you get treated really well. But I also think it could go a little further in regards to how their hockey department is built out. I think Kyle has a real forward-thinking, progressive mind with how that's going to operate from analytics. And I know they have it here, but I know it probably could be bigger and better with Fenway. So I think his mind coming in and how he wants to do that could really benefit the hockey department here for the Penguins. But, with regards to, both parties getting what they wanted, I think it's a good decision. I didn't see that coming. I thought it was going to be just a GM position. I wasn't sure they were going to go back to having a president of hockey operations again. They never really had that here until Berkey kind of came in and took that role. So I thought they would just go back to having a GM and kind of run it as is, and instead it's gone the other way. So we'll see what happens. We'll see who Kyle hires. I thought his press conference was really good yesterday as well. Yeah, I think this summer is obviously a big summer, and he's got to hit the ground running because there's tons of decisions to be made here.
Do you think there's anything, I don't want to say fishy, but anything relevant to the idea that he said he's going to not hire a GM until July? He is going to be the guy through the draft and the start of free agency. That seems to be purposeful in some way, he's waiting for something. What are your thoughts about what's going to happen with that GM position?
Yeah, well, I think he strapped himself with the interim tag yesterday at the press conference. And I know they've been interviewing, right? We've seen candidates come in and candidates come out of the running for it. And I guess he wants to be the guy to hire his guy. So I obviously he's been a GM for a number of years. He can handle this and come in and take control. I'm curious to see who the guy's going to be that he decides to pick. So he gets control. He's taken over the hockey department, and he wants to have the final say. So he'll I guess the interview process and bring in the people that he wants, and he's looking for someone that can what his weaknesses are. So I'll be curious to see who that person would be with regard to the GM.
Okay, Colbs, we're going to give you a ring right back here as Sammy finds you a better tin can with a thicker piece of string between us.
It's been a while.
Yeah, listen, you've been on a heck of a roll. Congratulations.
It's been a while. But Colby, didn't he drop like 6 times last time we had him?
Was he the record holder?
No, Kevin Kurz.
What would Off the Rails Friday be without a dropped Sammy call?
I mean, that's good.
It's such a hard gig that he's on the hook for the randomness of people's cell phones in the U.S., but it's, part of the role.
It is part of the role.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
A GM right now for me, a Kyle Dubas GM right now for me could be anyone from anywhere.
That's helpful.
Which means they could pluck them. Like Fenway Group has they got Liverpool.
They're going to hire someone like Ralph Kruger out of Southampton.
They could get a number of bean counters from any sport to kind of pluck in whatever data as a general manager for him. All right, Colbs, you ready?
I'm back. Sorry, boys.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
We're just discussing potential general managers and whether or not it will be an analytic guy from maybe even the Fenway Group that might be with the Boston Red Sox or from another sport. Do you anticipate a guy that, when it's all said and done, would feel like maybe a Jimmy Rutherford, Patrick Alvin situation where if it looks like a general manager, it lends towards Jimmy Rutherford and not Patrick?
Yeah, I kind of feel that. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think who's the names that were kind of left, hanging right now was, from what we heard, was Darsh, I think Botterill, and what's a fella that was in Arizona as well, the younger guy there.
Cheka.
So those were kind of the names. Cheka. So those were kind of the names that were kind of left at the end that we had. So I'll be interested to see who can come in there and what their internal role will actually be. I could see it being that with Kyle at the helm and as president and running the show and what he's looking for and what he wants to have here. So I'm not sure. And while this dragged on, right, because I think they gave him the weekend to make his decision, and then it was obviously a long weekend down here, and then it was Wednesday, and then it was like what's going on here. So I was like leaning. I was like, is he getting? Maybe he's just getting a job with Fenway. Maybe Kyle's getting it like he's going to be on the baseball side and kind of overseeing maybe a few sports. I don't know. I don't know what they were looking for, but to finally get somebody in here and hit the ground running, I think is obviously important for the Penguins. And Fenway, look, they came in. Hextall and Burke were already here in place, so they got the guy that they kind of wanted. It just kind of worked out timing wise that happened. But the last week or so, with the decisions that had to be made and kind of the loose timetable, had sports media here in Pittsburgh kind of going a little crazy. But like I said, like he's coming into a place, so like guys, that you'll agree is going to be so much more comfortable, right? Like the attention, just in general, that the Leafs and the scrutiny that the Leafs get under, and rightfully so, right? You win one playoff round in 5 years in your tenure there of building this team, and I think this is probably his best year at acquiring those kind of assets at the deadline and who to bring in and who can be difference makers in your lineup for Kyle. So for him to kind of get out of that market and get into this market where it's high end but just smaller city, smaller feel, I think will be comfortable for a guy from Sault Ste. Marie, right?
Oh, is he from Sault Ste. Marie? That never came up while he was here.
Really?
The situation here for him as a GM, Colby, was like, hey, you have some great core players. Can you fill around them to win? And that's kind of exactly what it looks like in Pittsburgh. What are his challenges in taking over the Penguins?
Well, I think they've got lots of guys up right now, and he touched on Jari yesterday, obviously being pretty, big free agent. That's he's going to have to make a decision on, and look at him and see where he stands contract wise and how he's going to get that done, or if he wants to, and doing a full evaluation. There's he said that he likes the top six, and obviously it's going to be one of those things where he's going to have to, you know, do much like he did in Toronto in trying to, you know, build the depth of the team out and properly. So Mike Sullivan said today that, you know, he wants to get some faster players and play that faster up-tempo game. So I think, you know, working with Sully and trying to find him players to, you know, play the way that he wants that team to play, because, you know, the last few years, after their back-to-back cup wins, you know, he's played a style of game that was just, you know, straight up like north-south style hockey. You have to have legs to do that. I mean, you have to have legs in the NHL now anyway, but just in general, like the type of personnel that he has to have in his lineup to want to play that way. And that's, you know, with aging core, you know, those are things that I think, you know, Kyle's going to have to look at and which players he wants to sign and have back. You got Dumoulin's up, you've got Zucker's up, Jari's up, just some of those bigger name guys that are there. Carter has one more year. You've got Granlund another couple of years on that trade that they made, that who knows what they're going to do with those guys and that money, and or if you can trade those guys away to free that up. But they've got some money to spend right now. It's just how they're going to do it, who they're going to decide to bring back, and you know, what decisions they're going to make with some of the personnel decisions, you know, through the depths of this lineup.
We're talking to former NHLer Colby Armstrong, covers the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're talking Kyle Dubas, president of hockey operations. The one thing I did get out of Kyle yesterday was that, and I don't know, you tell me, was it more about saying some of the things that he thinks that many people want to hear? Because I got a real sense that he thinks he can rebuild underneath and while still going for it. And we know where the situation is with Malkin and Crosby and Letang, and he talked about that and not betting against them. But, you know, building within, underneath, and trying to win now, last time I checked, didn't go hand in hand. It's either one or the other. So you tell me which way you think this is going to go, Colby.
He's going to have his work cut out for him big time, Kyper. He's going to have his work cut out for him because the Penguins have, you know, a few draft picks in the first round over the last, you know, handful of seasons. There isn't many guys coming up from, you know, the American League. What he can sign and maybe what he can do there, maybe probably just as important of what he can do with the Penguins as well, and trying to find guys. And like the cupboards are fairly bare here, so he's going to have to really roll up his sleeves and it's got to be big on the trade market, and it's got to be big at the deadline or at free agency and at the draft, and what he can swing and what he can do to free things up to find guys, because it's just you know, the way the organization is right now. Like, these guys have run through 16 years straight in the playoffs, Stanley Cups, and you know, they've been an all-in, go-for-it type of team over the years. And you know, Jimmy Rutherford was, you know, he was slinging them. He was slinging guys all over the place. Wasn't afraid to, you know, get rid of his first-round pick whenever it counted on him. You know, I think when the decision was made last year to, you know, whether Malkin and Letang was coming back, I think that's kind of the mandate, that you have to come in and find a way to make this work with these guys. And you know, Kyle talked about talking to Sid and finding out his feel on where he's at with this team and what they could do, and you know, his compete level. And I think that's kind of the idea, is that, listen, when we got these guys that are still playing pretty decent hockey, although aging, of course, that they have to try to find a way to do it. Now, that's going to be a big challenge, I think, for Kyle, is you know, kind of restructuring this team and finding ways to spend the money that makes sense to build a roster that can compete. Because, you know, he made a good point. He talked about the division. Look at the division. Well, let's look at the division and how good some of these teams are, how much better some of these teams have gotten. New Jersey's there, you know, Carolina's there. Look at Florida. You look at some of these, all these teams, and what they're going to have to, you know, do to overcome some of these, you know, teams that are on the rise while they're kind of stalled out. So it's going to be, you know, all hands on deck, I think, in him and getting creative and how he's going to do that to battle through.
Colby, I know you know the Penguins in and out, but they put you on TNT. You know the whole league. You've been up here in Toronto. You've seen this team. So I want to get your thoughts on this Austin Matthews situation. Kip wrote about it yesterday. Yeah. I wrote about it today. Should be up on sportsnet.ca shortly. But just, you know, he's got a big decision to make here if he wants to be in Toronto long term, if he's going to max him out for money, if he wants to be in LA. What are his priorities? What are your thoughts on his decision, over this next month?
Yeah, well, yeah, isn't that huge? Isn't that crazy? That's why that 5-year deal is so nuts that a player of his caliber was able to not get tied in completely to the max term deal. So it puts him in a pretty tough spot to try to get something done. Does he like Toronto? I imagine so. Does he like playing with the guys he likes? Everything we heard at the end of the year, even though it was sad times, was these guys really love each other and believe in each other. So is that going to be enough to get him to stick around? What's the price tag going to be like when it gets done, and how aggressive is Treliving going to be in courting him to stick around, and what the team might look like even next year. So yeah, I could see him, me personally, I could see him going to LA. That's you look down and you got Kopitar aging as well. You've got Deneau, you could have Matthews. I mean, that's looking pretty slick out there in LA, and can Treliving do enough to get it done with the team and have him stick around will be the main question. How many years do they get out of him again? Is it another 5-year deal? I could see that happening.
Just the mere fact, after 6 seasons, a guy like you who's played the game, or a little bit, you hear things here and there that others don't. The mere fact to me that you have to ask that question if he likes it here. I mean, that's that. And then insinuating, well, there might be a number that will make me like it here. And all of that's
a fact.
But it's got to be incredibly concerning for Brad Treliving that you don't like it here until we give you a number that you like it here. And I get it. I get business, I get money, but I also get these guys sometimes can't have their cake and eat it too in terms of the money that you want and our chances of winning.
Well, I think we'll find out, right? I think we'll find out. There's no question that is 100%. How bad do you want to win? I even Sid's contract, when he signed that years ago, and him and Gino signed those big deals, and at the time it was Kane and Taves signed those big deals as those big duos. What kind of percentage it was towards the cap of your team and kind of hitting those marks. And, as the cap's risen, now they're looking like pretty good deals, and they look like pretty good deals as it went on. How does that factor into, what you're trying to do and winning and, the team that you want to be on? So I think this will be huge. I think we'll find out where that number's at, because there's no question he's going to get massive money. It's just it's going to come down to, does he want to be there or not? That'll be the thing.
Give me a number that you'd like to see on say a 3-year deal. If he wants short term, how high are you willing to go before we let you go?
Yeah, what would that be? Geez.
13?
13.5.
Okay. All right.
Is that doable?
And 14 is 14 a breaker? A deal breaker? 14 times 3?
Do I hear 14.5? 14.5. Can I get 15.15? Do I see 15.15 in the
Sold!
back?
Yeah. I don't see why he wouldn't on a 3-year deal. That sounds pretty good.
All right. Well, listen, people still think you're signing the 60-goal scorer, MVP type of guy. I know it was an underwhelming year for him, but I'm sure Judd, his agent's going to be trying to sign the MVP 60-goal scorer.
Oh, Judd will be all over me. Hey, Judd will be, why did you say 15? Why?
You're getting a Judd text after this?
Yeah, possibly the Judd text will be coming. What a beauty.
Oh, Judd's in
I'll
for
say this, though, boys.
Nice commission.
The Battle of PA is alive and well, boys.
Right.
The Battle of PA.
Colts.
My brother just got hired as the director of player development for the Flyers.
I saw that.
He'll be
Daniel
working there.
Briere named his brother director.
Yep. So
Who's your brother?
Riley. Riles.
Oh, okay.
Riley.
Yeah.
Riles.
I actually didn't know you guys were brothers.
So when I had my little first ever stint at Sportsnet, he was hanging out with me and Kip.
Oh my gosh! I'm like, can you get your brother away from me, please? Please, can you get? And now he's running the Flyers with Briere. Who would have thought?
Yeah, he's grinded. He's done good. So
You sure
it's
has.
alive and well now.
Good.
I'm proud of him.
All right. We're proud of you for coming on our show all season long, pal. Thanks for doing it.
Yep.
Thanks,
you guys
Colby.
are the best. Check out Bourne's article. Check out Bourne's
pal.
article on sportsnet.ca. Let's go.
Let's go.
That's my man. Thanks, Colbs.
Colby Armstrong. So give us a little bit of a tidbit on, or just a little sample of your article today.
It was, putting a list together of what your priorities are when you're a player and what you would consider, and how we have a pretty good idea of what is at the top of McDavid's list and McKinnon's list. And we just don't know what's at the top of Matthews' list. We don't.
No.
And so to me, he is going to reveal to us what his priorities are, and that decision will affect how he's viewed for all eternity in Toronto.
I don't know if we'll. I wrote Thursday in my article on Austin that he's far away a hard guy to read.
Yeah, he is.
And I don't know if we'll ever get true answers on what makes him tick.
Because you're not what you say, you're what you do. And so what he does is going to tell us what he is. And so if he stays here in Toronto on a cheap deal and wants to win, I think it's pretty clear that winning stuff is real. And that is a priority. That is important.
I did get into this a little bit on my article as well, is that, and I'm going to throw this out to you both, Sammy. I want to hear your answer. So
He's calling Doug.
We got Doug?
I'm just talking to Doug. Hold
okay. All right. I'll go to you then before we go to Mac.
Yeah.
Okay. If Austin Matthews goes, all right, I got Doug McLean here, and I'll throw this out to Mac too. And but I want to hear your answer first. So hold on there, Mac. If Austin goes the same route as Matthew Tkachuk, open and honest, and says, listen, I'm not signing here long term. Try to get what you can for me. I want to go back home. If he pulls the exact same thing, will he get the same? Will he get the same admiration that Matthew Tkachuk had for being open and honest, or will he get ripped?
I think, he'll get a little bit of both because people are polar, but I think it depends what Treliving would get back for him. Like if they were happy in Calgary, they were like, we got a guy with 115 points and we got a D-man and we got a first rounder. If that happened in Toronto, he might not get ripped. If he gets a bad deal, probably affects how people view him.
I want to get Sammy McKee, president of Leaf Nation, on that, but let's get Doug McLean involved here on Off the Rails Friday. Mac, thanks for coming on. I want to ask you the same question. Is there a chance that Austin takes the Matthew Tkachuk playbook?
There's a chance. I mean, he keeps saying he wants to be in Toronto. Your friend Mr. Bourne there is probably accurate, but how do you get a fair deal for one of the premier players in the game? You don't get one. So you're dreaming, Bourne.
Yeah.
La La Land on that one.
You think you're getting back a couple of pucks or what?
Well, you might get Logan Cooley, and who are you getting? Come on, who are they going to give you? Well, it depends where he goes, obviously. So I think it's really hard for the GM.
Colby's
Isn't it the history of the game? Isn't it the history of the game that whoever gets the best player in the trade wins the trade? Don't tell me Huberdeau was close to Matthew Tkachuk in that deal, and Weegar, come on.
Okay, Colby threw out the LA Kings moments ago as a possible destination for Austin Matthews. If you were able to do something with Gabe Velarde, a first rounder, and a defenseman, Mikey Anderson, no?
Boo.
No, you're not.
Those are three good pieces for a guy that you could walk out the door 12 months later for nothing.
I know, but the problem is, Nick, it comes back to the same thing. Who's the best player? Who's the best player?
Probably not Mikey Anderson.
Tough to make. Go back to the Lindros trade. Go back to the Lindros trade. Okay.
Yeah, what, 15 million?
15 million, Forsberg, and on, 3 first-round picks, and on and on and on and on. This is one of the top 3 forwards in the game, Austin Matthews. You're not getting a fair deal, boys. Trust me, you're not.
All right.
You're going to get ripped.
I don't disagree with you for 1 second.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
I know it's impossible to guess what his priorities are, but how much do you think it affects what the Leafs do? Like, do you think if he takes $14 million, that means they can't keep Marner or Nylander? Or do you think that those guys they're going to find a way to keep all these guys? What are the dominoes of a Matthews deal?
It's tremendous dominoes because it's the same for every team. You take a look at your top 4 paid players in your franchise, and you say, okay, where are those top 4 players' numbers? Okay, so you look at Toronto, Colorado, Edmonton, Las Vegas, Florida, Boston, whoever you want to look at, top 4 players. If they're over 34 million, you're in trouble to build a team around them. You really are. And, the Leafs are at 42 right now or so in that range. If you go to 46, how do you ever build a team around them? That's the problem Dubas had. Dubas tried for 3-4 years to put a supporting cast around, and he wasn't successful doing it. How do you put a supporting cast around it? That's your challenge. And right now, you look at all those teams. Toronto's in the worst shape of any of them. And they're all contenders.
So just envision yourself being Brad Treliving now and knocking on the door in Arizona at their house and saying, what's your number? Or what is Brad's number? What is the number that says yes? And what's the number where you walk away from it, Mac?
That's the biggest challenge Brad Treliving is faced with. And I'm telling you one thing. I'm telling you right now, I'm glad it's Treliving doing it because he's got experience and he's a reputable guy and people in the business trust him. Okay, so that's the number one thing. Give Tree full marks. So he will be a guy that will do everything he can to make this happen. So I don't know what the number is, Nick. If it's 14, what do you do? How do you build your team unless you're going to pay him 14 and you're going to move Marner, Nylander, or one of the others? That's if you're going to pay him 14, you can't keep everybody. It's impossible.
Do you think if he were a free agent,
unless the cap goes much higher than
next year?
No, not next year.
Yeah.
Not next year.
Or the year after, possibly. If it does, it might go up 3 or 4. Yep. But he'll eat it all.
Yeah.
Do you think if he were a free agent, anyone would? So 20% of max salary cap, 83.5 is 16.7 million.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can go there.
I don't think they can anymore, guys. I mean, I'm listening to what's going on in Ottawa with the Brinket. Okay, I followed that today. Okay, what do you do there, guys? You look at their top 4: Tkachuk, Stützle, Norris. And they got a stud coming that's going to be up for a contract in a year's time, Sanderson. And they very easily could get those 4 guys done at 33+ million, okay? And I put that group of 4, as young as they are and the term they have on them, up against any of the other teams, including Boston, Florida, Vegas, Edmonton, Colorado, for potential. So you cannot let yourself get into a Toronto Maple Leafs situation that has plagued them for a couple of years now. You can't do it.
Yeah, but you can't also let him walk out the door because he gave up a first, a second, and a third, I think. Did you not?
No, you can't let him. But you can phone Carolina, who is looking for a score after going out 4 straight and couldn't score a goal in the playoffs. I know they got Svechnikov, but DeBrincat's a good player. So you've got to work every which way to get him on term for quite a bit less money than the 9. You can take him to arbitration and get some down. But if you get into that with your 5th guy there making that kind of money, then you got Batherson at 5. I mean, you get into a situation you can't build your team. And you need a number 1 goalie, and you need a top 4 defenseman probably, or at least a 5. It's hard to build a team, boys. Dubas couldn't do it. And he's the smartest guy. He's the smartest general manager that I've ever listened about in the last 2 days. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And yet he is He's the new Sam Pollock, and he hasn't hardly won a playoff round. Sam Pollock won 9 Stanley Cups. He's won 1 playoff. I talked to a GM today, and the guy said, like, Doug, what is going on here? He never won in the OHL. He's won 1 round in 9 years with the Leafs, and you think the god of Sam Pollock we're talking about. Anyway, I like Kyle. I like him.
The guy who's very popular with people like yourself, Doug, Brad Treliving, has been hired here now. What do you think his situation with the coaches here in Toronto?
How many playoff rounds has he won in the playoffs in the last 5-7 years?
I thought that was a worthwhile conversation to have too. We were going to get there, but what are your thoughts?
Even. Aren't they even?
They both won 1 game in the second round.
Right.
No further.
Okay, so they're even then. Going in, they're even.
Is he going to fire or hire the coach? What do you think?
I think I got a funny feeling Keith survives. You know what I was thinking about today? Where would the Leafs have been the last couple of years? I know Babcock said some nasty things about Marner, and he got mad. They got mad at him in Detroit. But where would they have been with Babcock in the playoffs in these series, the Montreal series, the Toronto? Where would they have been? I don't know. I think Keith's done a pretty good regular season job. There's no denying that. I think he's a pretty good young coach, but I think it's time for a change. I think the boys have got to grow up and say, okay, put your big panties on and let's get ready for some real battles here. That's what I think they need. But anyway.
What's out there that's available? Peter Laviolette has been linked to the Rangers. Like, would you like to see Laviolette try to close out this roster to try to win a Stanley Cup?
I think you need a coach that's won some games. I was thinking today. I mean, Edmonton are winning by 4 goals, and Nurse goes on the ice after him and Pietrangelo have been battling, and they lose him for a game, and it may have cost them a series. I know their goaltending wasn't good enough, but it may have cost them a series. You need big-time experience, and I don't think they have enough behind the bench to win. And they're still going to be in the window next year, the Leafs. They're still going to be in the window to win.
Listen, I know this.
They're going to be one of the better teams going into the playoffs.
I know you're a little, Gerard Gallant's a buddy of yours. We get all of that. But, a guy that has had success, including a Stanley Cup final, I know the longevity hasn't been there, but could he come in short term and have an effect? I know he's been linked to Calgary, I think, Toronto.
I get such a charge out of the Rangers. I said, that he goes to the conference final last year and lose to Tampa Bay, in a tough, hard-fought series. And this year, according to Drury, he can't do X and O's on the bench. Like, come on. I know X and O's on the bench. Don't tell me he can't do X and O's and make adjustments in game. It's a bunch of BS. It's an excuse that people throw out there when they got to fire a coach, okay? So I'm not buying it. Yeah, he's a guy that he's an experienced guy. He's been 9 years as a head coach in the NHL. He's an experienced guy. He's him and Laviolette, somebody that's had a chance to get to the final. I mean, he's been to a conference final and a Stanley Cup final with pretty average teams, and he had a good run also in Florida. So, what? I think he's a name that should be in the mix for sure.
All right, we're going to let you go, bud. Summer hours. You don't have to work twice as hard on our show with summer hours.
I didn't even give Bourne a chance to talk today. I shot my mouth off way too much. I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. We love having you. I'm happy to take a day off.
I was trying to make Sammy and Bourne feel better about Kyle leaving, and I don't know if I accomplished that.
Listen,
because I know they're devastated.
When you speak of Kyle, when you speak of Kyle, and then end your rant with, "But I like Kyle." What do you like with people that you don't like?
Oh, I'm vicious. Do you want me to start on a couple I don't like?
No, you're done. You're done. You're
do
done.
a whole show of that one day. We'll have you on and just airing of grievances with
done.
Doug McLean.
Mac, thanks for doing this.
Take care, boys.
Thanks,
right.
Mac.
All right.
Okay, I just want to come back to Sammy before we go to break here. Austin Matthews tells Brad Treliving the same thing Matthew Tkachuk. How is that? What does that do for you, Sammy, and a bunch of your buddies?
I think, Bourne, you mentioned return, right?
Which is not in Matthews' control, of
No.
course, but relevant
I think
to fans.
the perception of the type of player they traded for, the amount of capital they got back, where he went. Like, there's a lot of stuff that plays into it. But I think ultimately, if you gave them the warning and they got a good return and they were able to sort of get, it's going to be quarters on the dollar in terms of return trading Austin Matthews. But you're able to get that.
Velarde. I threw out Velarde.
I hate this
Mikey
deal, by the way.
Anderson.
Hate this
Oh, my
deal.
God.
Mikey Anderson, a first rounder, and Byfield.
Oh,
No.
I don't think you mentioned Byfield the first time you did that.
I'm including four pieces, including a top 3 pick.
I'm not ready to have this conversation.
He's not emotionally there.
No. The
first time you did it, you said Velarde.
Right. No.
Yeah.
I was missing a piece.
Yeah.
Kipper, leave the fake trades to me, pal. I'll cook. I'll get in my lab.
Did I intrigue you a little bit more with Byfield?
Well, it is more intriguing because now you have a giant centerman that is
Has
young
to,
and has potential, and
have to bring a centerman back.
yeah, that does change things. But no, I mean, I still want Matthews in this scenario. But
Okay.
Bring Sean Dursey home. Let him, after he got booed
enough with
after
Dursey.
getting booed for getting slashed in the head by Pierre Engvall, after getting booed mercilessly by his home crowd.
I'm sure he's a great guy,
I'm coming home.
not a needle mover.
Bring home Dursey.
13.5 times 3, you're okay with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I am for sure. I don't. I just want more term.
I'm also okay with 15 times 8.
15 times 8.
I'll tell you what I'm not.
It's funny because I
Pay him whatever he wants.
I'll tell you what I'm not okay with.
All right, I'm excited.
I'm not okay that you jumped to 13.5 when the captain of the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup and he only went up 100,000 more than the highest paid player.
Yeah.
I got a problem with a guy jumping out of Toronto $1 million when a guy actually led his team and did everything you asked him to, only went to 12.6.
And by the way, McKinnon has finished second for the Hart twice, third for the Hart once. I voted for him to win the Hart twice. So he's a guy.
Whether you're Judd or Austin,
equal or higher.
How can you look me in the eye and say that you want to go to 13.5 when McKinnon's at 12.6 on a brand new deal?
Because I'll tell you how.
Delivering the cup.
It's really easy because he took a dumb deal. He shorted himself millions of dollars. He's worth so much more than that. If that guy wants to take a dumb deal, don't make it relevant to my client's deal.
We got to go to break here soon, but I will say.
You're not allowed to tell me things that change my mind, by the way.
But what
You're
about,
not allowed.
But what about, just think about the perception Matthews would have if he was a hero among heroes like David Pastrnak for taking $11 million. What a discount. If he took a quote-unquote Kipper discount and took $12 million for 5 years or something, they would shower roses on him, and he would be talked about as this, what a guy for taking less money.
What a team guy.
100%. So it's like, how rich do you need to be?
Yeah, he's probably made $70 million.
Do you need to be
after this season?
What are you trying to be?
65.
What do you care about? Do you care about your perception and winning, or do you care about money? That's what it comes
my
down.
whole article is. It's probably live.
I mean, Brad Treliving needs Sammy to go knock on his door.
Yeah.
No, he
in
doesn't.
Arizona.
No, he doesn't. Because if I'm in Arizona, I'll be cracking beers. I'll be like, whatever you want, Austin. Let's go. Let's hit the range.
Meanwhile, Austin just has visions of himself rollerblading down the boardwalk. And
who's the character in Hoosiers who took over the team?
You know what? I'm not a big
Do you remember
Hoosiers
that movie?
aficionado. I have maybe watched it once many years
I've
ago.
never seen Hoosiers.
He's the I can't remember the character, but that would be you on that trip.
Sammy fits the mold.
I have no perception.
Okay, we need to go to break.
Yeah, we're going to get some playoff picks coming back.
You heard Sammy, real Kyper and Bourne after these words.
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Did I hear a promo calling us the most opinioneted? Is that you?
I don't know if
You know,
that's
I
my
like
role
to
in this
keep
show.
my opinions to myself.
I've never really heard a lot of opinions on this show.
All right, Tammy, let her rip. Playoff
All right,
picks.
time for playoff picks. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds. Now, still no hockey.
Oh, great.
Tomorrow is hockey.
Yay.
Hooray!
Although I shouldn't say, there's a great OHL game on tonight, which you cannot bet on Bet365. But it's a high-powered Seattle Thunderbirds with, I think, 9 first-round picks on their team versus the Peterborough Petes, the pesky Petes. Be a great game. 10 p.m. puck drop. I know Bourne will be staying up for that one. But before this year's NHL gets started, the final, I noticed that on Bet365, you can bet on who next year's Stanley Cup winner will be.
That is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got?
So who do you think is the favorite?
The Cup favorites for next year, the Boston Bruins.
How can they do that?
Colorado.
Correct. Colorado is the favorite.
Plus 800.
With no Landeskog.
I guess.
Think about that.
He's missing a whole year? Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that knee thing.
Yeah.
What is the number? I totally made that up.
You're right.
No way. Oh,
And coming in second.
oh, not the Leafs. Is it the
would
Leafs?
you-
It's the Leafs plus 900.
Would you really put money on Colorado right now for next year?
Not a chance.
Oh, my God.
Who would?
I would I don't know who bets on these. I think it's hilarious that they put them up.
I think the idea is that if you're looking deep into the middle of the pack and you think there's a team that's going to add a bunch at free agency, you think they're going to be aggressive, but they still have long odds, maybe you could get in before their number changes a lot.
Pittsburgh or something. They were way down the list. I think.
But it would be insane because you're going to get Colorado at plus 800 at the start of the year.
Yeah. And then would you care to, Kyper, give me a couple bucks to put on the Leafs to win the Cup next year? 9-1?
I'm going to guess you're not going to find any VCs in this audience here willing to back that.
$5.
Edmonton is also 9-1. So there you go.
No thanks.
How much money would you have made if you went Florida like November or December? Like what would those odds?
Well,
what would have those numbers been?
We not only shoveled shovelfuls of dirt onto their casket by December. I think we had it fully buried. We had to dig it back up.
I bet you when they were down, when we were talking about their Sherratt pick potentially being the first overall pick, I bet you could have got them 80-90-1.
And how about the Penguins just needed to beat the Blackhawks on a Tuesday in April to eliminate
and we
them.
would never have been here.
And they couldn't do it. And now the Panthers might win the Cup.
It's crazy.
What a sport.
And the Leafs could have been playing Pittsburgh.
You got a chip and a chair, you got a chance.
All right. And the next thing I have is I brought it up with you yesterday. The 5 goals in the series. You can bet on someone to score 3 goals in the series.
Now we're talking.
So the favorites obviously are. Let me just pick it up here.
Give me Mark Stone.
Score 3+ goals in the series. Matthew Tkachuk is -140. Jack Eichel -120. Carter Verhaeghe -110. Okay. Jonathan Marshall +110. Your boy Mark Stone +180. So there you go. Those are the favorites.
Give me some numbers on the series. Game, championship team.
Vegas in 5.
I'm saying Vegas in 5 for my boys on the Zigzags who will be at a Stanley Cup party if that happens. So
I'll have to
in
go
Vegas,
Florida.
Yeah. You're picking Florida, yeah.
7.
I would like to clarify that my pick is not about not believing in Florida versus Vegas. It's that I think the goaltending is going to turn back into a pumpkin.
All the way.
Yeah, full pumpkin.
Really?
He's never had a sustained run, and he was hot. You know, you're making every putt on the course. You go 2 days later after whatever, and it's just not there.
Yeah, after the putter Gordo gave me. I never miss, boys. And that was Playoff Picks presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds.
Tremendous Cinderella year.
Yeah.
And I just thought, wasn't it St. Louis, their run, they were in last place in Christmas.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen a little more often now, guys.
God, they just haven't played it so long. I know. It's just such
Starting
a
to see
divide.
teams like just get in. Just get in, get hot, get your goalie ready, and roll the dice, baby.
Florida's never been healthier. They've played like 9 games in the past month.
All right, time to go, says Derek Brandale. Our thanks to Colby Armstrong and Doug McLean. Off the Rails Friday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, everybody. Give us a rating and review if you get a chance, or a thumbs up. Stay safe, everybody.